PTF and JK back with you in the Money Media YouTube channel. Top 5 3-year-olds. We're going to do it as a countdown. But first, JK, just want you to reflect for a minute on what was an absolutely loaded weekend of racing up here in Saratoga and around the country.
A lot of times in racing, we get excited about some of the superstars showing up, and the races don't always live up to the hype. This one absolutely did. Fierceness, Sierra Leone, Torpedo Anna. They showed up. They showed out. It was one of the best Travers I've ever seen.
Number 5 on our top 3-year-olds. We're going to go with one. We'll be a little cheeky here. We're going to the sprint division, but this is a horse who's beaten Fierceness a couple of times, so he certainly has that form box checked. But in the Jerkins, Domestic Product really put on an impressive performance, suggesting that he is a better horse going the one turn. Got a really nice run through the race, finished with alacrity, and held them all off. How confident do you feel about placing him among the top 5 3-year-olds at this point?
Yeah, I mean, look, obviously 3-year-old racing is centered around the Kentucky Derby, the two-turn dirt classic types, but it's hard to ignore what Domestic Product did on Saturday. There was 3 7-furlong dirt races in a row right in the same time frame, so you can trust those numbers, those final times, and the buyer speed figures. Domestic Product ran the fastest of those 3, the older males and the older females. I think that he's one that could make some noise come the first Saturday of November, so he deserves to be on this list.
Interesting to see. I suppose there might be some temptation to run him at a mile. He's done very well at a mile. I have that one turn thought in my head. Where do you want to see him at the Breeders' Cup? Which race?
Oh, I'd love to see him in the sprint. And in fact, when we get done here, I'm going to probably send Chad Brown a text message to try to convince him of that. I think this horse reminds me a lot of Elite Power in the sense that although he's a late running sprinter, those 7-furlong races are actually harder for him. It's a longer run for him. You watch Domestic Product, he was running the entire time. I think a shorter race can sharpen his late kick, and he'll have more pace to close into.
Let's go to number 4 on the list. I still think he belongs here. Certainly one of the disappointments, if not the disappointment of the Travers Dornoch. We see him here winning the Haskell. This horse, he's won a couple of grade 1s. He's a street fighter. I wouldn't rule out him winning another big race at some point because of the toughness he showed, but I certainly would put him behind the other 3 we're going to talk about on this list. Where do you stand with Dornoch at this point?
If you win the Belmont and you win the Haskell, you deserve to be on a top 5 3-year-old list. I don't even need him moving forward. I think he was fortunate to win those 2 races, running into the goofy mind frame who ran second to him twice, who's now injured. I don't need Dornoch moving forward, but he does deserve to be on this list because of what he's accomplished so far this year.
Number 3 on the list is Sierra Leone. Stephen Christ had the great line on the show about feeling like Charlie Brown and the football with Lucy, the Peanuts reference with this one, never quite makes that kick. But the horse ran really well. I mean, he has been in the money in some of the most important races there are. He is not as fast or as brilliant as the top 2 on this list, but he belongs on the list. And unlike with Dornoch, I'm actually going to predict that this horse is going to win at some point in his career a big grade 1. I think he's just going to need a setup to do it. I don't think he's as brilliant as the market or I thought he was, but I think he's a really good horse who deserves his place on this list. Are you tired of the act, or are you a Sierra Leone truther at this point?
Well, I've never really been a Sierra Leone guy just because those horses with that style don't really fit my mental profile in terms of how I look at races. But I will say this, he still has yet to get a setup. Now, you can take that for what it is. If you don't think he's ever going to get a setup, you can continue to fade him. But there's a moment in which some point he's going to get the setup that he needs. And what happens if it's that Breeders' Cup Classic and he's 10-1, 12-1 while all these other horses are being bet, and Arthur's Ride and Fierceness and Dornoch go out there and go 46 to the half, and he comes running down the middle of the track straight like he was on Saturday, he definitely still deserves to be in the conversation. But man, I can understand if some people are sick of his act.
Yeah, there's a reason we're going back in time for our Sierra Leone video showing that the last win back in the Bluegrass in April. It's been a minute between drinks for sure. Let me give you a word from our sponsor of this video, winnercircleproxy.com, the website, winnercircleproxy.com/ITM. NFL season getting ready to start. All you have to do is get to Vegas or get a partner to Vegas once to sign yourself up for these 2 best NFL contests in all the land out at Circa, Circa Survivor, and Circa Millions. Winner Circle Proxy will help you get there, and they will take care of everything after that. Winner Circle clients won big, almost $7 million in 2023 alone. Why don't you try to get yourself some of that money with the NFL season about to kick off? Go to the website, fill out the form, winnercircleproxy.com/ITM. Also want to encourage you while you're here to subscribe to the In the Money Media YouTube channel. And you're hearing our opinions on here. We want to hear yours. Who are your top 5 3-year-olds at this point? Drop them in the comments or let us know what you think we got right or what you think we got wrong. And absolutely subscribe, though. Helps other people find us. And we consider it a personal favor. We're trying to get to that 10,000, and we might get there by the end of the week with a little bit of luck. Let's get back to the top 10 countdown. Number 2 on the list. Some might even make the push for number 1, but I'm very comfortable now calling Torpedo Anna the second best 3-year-old. What a performance it was. You hear all the time when horses win easily like she did in the CCA Oaks. Oh, well, she was just hand-ridden. She could have gone faster. I often don't buy it. I think you have to buy it in the case of Torpedo Anna because she just ran an absolute career best figure, 110 or 111 on the Beyer speed figure scale, and it was awesome. She made my spine tingle, and there was no financial involvement for me at that point. I was just excited. I actually was rooting for her to win, just rooting for that story, but she delivered big time.
Yeah, she was outstanding. She lived up to the hype. She gained more in defeat than you can imagine. Very similar to what Zenyatta did when she lost to Blame. I think that was probably her best race. I'm confident that that was Torpedo Anna's best race of her entire career. I think she's going to be a slam dunk in the distaff. She's going to be the 3-year-old champion. And fingers crossed, we can see her as a 4-year-old. I think she could grow up to be something pretty special. She deserves to be number 2 on this list, but number 1 to me feels pretty definite.
Number 1 on the list is Fierceness, of course, the 2-year-old champ, back in style. They really seem to have figured things out with this horse. Another huge effort from a Beyer speed figure point of view, and he just looks like he is who we thought he was. JK, where are you with Fierceness at this point?
Yeah, I mean, Fierceness has always been this kind of star-crossed, shows up, doesn't show up, shows up, doesn't show up type of horse. But, he's run 8 times in his life, and 4 of those performances have been absolutely brilliant. And maybe even 5 if you wanted to look at his debut. 5 of his performances have been brilliant. I think he's had excuses in his other 2. The Kentucky Derby, a hard race to win. The 3-year-old comeback race, the Holy Bull, tough. For a champion to come back first start when the goal is later down the line. But what he did on Saturday in a 1.25 miles, I think he's going to be extremely tough. Sounds like Johnny's figured him out a little bit, Johnny Velasquez. And it sounds like Todd's figured him out, needing more time between starts. He's going to have 10 weeks leading up to this Breeders' Cup Classic, and I think he'll be the 3-year-old champion, and I think he'll be the horse of the year.
I want to address one thing that I know we're going to be hit with in comments from a lot of my international people. They're going to say, what about City of Troy? How could he not be on your list? Well, we were just focusing on the domestic ones for us, for one thing. It is interesting. I was asked on the show yesterday about City of Troy and where I thought he'd fit. And I feel like he's the kind of horse that might be able to win an average classic. But now these numbers Fierceness has been running. Torpedo Anna probably goes into distaff, but could turn up here. Look, he'll still be worth a ton of money, City of Troy, if he can run effectively and be in the top 3 in a Breeders' Cup Classic. But the idea that he's favored now internationally seems a bit wild after what we saw from Fierceness. What are your impressions from a distance of City of Troy?
It's very simple. I'll tell your international friends and family that want to talk about coming over here with City of Troy and winning the Classic. When you guys come over here and beat us in American football or come over here and beat us in basketball, then we can start talking about you coming over here and beating us in dirt racing. This is a different ball game. I love City of Troy as a racehorse, but this is a different world over here on the dirt.
So much more content coming up. Make sure you subscribe to the In the Money Media YouTube channel, and we'll be back real soon.